Hello, my friend. I am so excited to dive into this week's podcast episode for you on this week's astrology, yet also the month ahead. In this week's episode, I'll be diving deep into this new moon in Pisces chart for you. I will then give you a good overview of March's astrology and how to best be prepared because I'm sorry to say it's a bit of an intense month. Yet, I do think we're still going to have some lovely moments. I will then go into how your solar return chart can actually really help you plan for your year ahead, how to really get the benefit of this chart because it is super juicy. It does give you a lot of information, and I would say solar return charts are super underrated. I will then end off this podcast episode with a tarot reading of what energy to embrace, what energy to let go of. So let's just dive right into it. Now, starting off with February 25th, we have Mercury conjunct Saturn. This is a day where you could have some very serious conversations. This looks like you could potentially see your therapist on this day and really unpack some heavy emotions. This could also look like just planning ahead and really getting serious about the work you're doing, especially if it's healing work. Maybe you're trying to figure out a plan as to how to listen to your body in a deeper way, how to process your emotions, how to be there emotionally for someone. Maybe someone you're close to is going through a hard time, so you want to show up for them in a very solid way. I do see that emphasized on February 25th. Now, let's dive into this new moon in Pisces chart for you. Now, this new moon in Pisces is happening on February 27th at 7:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's happening at 9 degrees of Pisces. Rounded up, it is 10 degrees, so I do want you to be aware of this. Now, this new moon is very interesting. This is a brand new beginning for you in one area of your life. And if you haven't checked out your Pisces season horoscopes, go check those out. Those are super juicy. Yet, I really do love this new moon in Pisces. We have some very lovely support because Mars is finally direct in the sign of Cancer. Mars went direct on February 24th. So if you felt like, okay, it's been so difficult for me to get work done, it's been so difficult to date, it just feels like things have been exhausting, you're not alone. So I'm so happy to say that Mars is direct in this new moon chart. And it's making this lovely trine to the moon and sun. So this is very emotionally supportive. You could just feel as though you have this inner motivation to start something new. This could also look like you have this emotional capacity to process something that feels more nourishing, that feels more exciting. So I do feel like we're having this burst of motivation with this new moon in Pisces. I will say we have Jupiter in a square to this new moon, and this is very opportunistic. This is still very encouraging. I do think we're going to have some very lovely conversations with close friends, with siblings, or we're just feeling as though we have a lot of support in this area of life. I do think we're going to connect with a lot of people during this new moon. And I do want to mention though, with this square to Jupiter, this still feels as though we're feeling a bit burnt out by social interactions. Maybe you're just feeling a bit overwhelmed by having so much communication, or there's a lot to unpack with the people in your life. Maybe a lot of people are going through something and you are being there trying to show up in the best possible way, yet it could just feel as though there's a lot to keep up with. Keep this in mind. I really love that Mars is direct. Honestly, it's been a minute, right? Mars has been retrograde since December 6th. So to have it direct in this new moon in Pisces chart, making this trine, this is so lovely. This is so beneficial for us. We need this burst of inspiration. Now, Mars is also still in this square to Chiron in Aries. This just means that we can still feel a bit sensitive around a certain topic, especially around old wounds, when it comes to our sense of worthiness, when it comes to our independence, when it comes to being seen for who we truly are. So we're still in this sensitive place. You could still potentially get triggered in some form. I'm so sorry to say, yet just know that anything that comes up for you with this new moon is actually very helpful. We need to really feel our feelings so that we can move forward. We need to process what has been holding us back from the past for us to move forward. And I'm really saying this because Pisces season is honestly a time for us to really feel everything that's going around us. And we can get really, really in our feels during this time. We are going to be really sensitive, very intuitive, and also dream bigger during this season. This new moon is really helping us understand which generational cycles are you breaking? Which karmic cycles do you need to let go of? And I not only say this because Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, so it's a very karmic sign. I say this in the best possible way. Do not be scared of this energy. This is us understanding that Pisces is here to help us understand and have the empathy that we need in society today. Pisces holds a lot of energetic weight because it's the last sign of the zodiac, so it's feeling all these emotions from previous signs. And with Saturn currently in Pisces, Saturn wants us to break some generational cycles in the sign of Pisces. Saturn wants us to set boundaries when it comes to, okay, how are you showing up energetically? How are you showing up emotionally? What does this look like? So we're getting some hard lessons around generational cycles and what this looks like to us. And this new moon is this brand new beginning for us when it comes to how are you perceiving your generational cycle? How are you being a cycle breaker? How are you standing up for yourself, but also the collective energy? What does this look like? We all have a part to play in our collective consciousness. We all have a part to play in this physical revolution, but also this spiritual revolution. So I do feel like this new moon in Pisces is going to be this beautiful opportunity for us to really see the benefit of being there for someone emotionally. And I do think we're going to have a lot of themes around collective consciousness, spirituality, sleep, but also what are you learning about your family and how do you differ? What needs to change and which blessings from your ancestors are you bringing forth? Are you saving? Are you nourishing? This is so, so pivotal for us. Now, what I also love about this new moon in Pisces chart for us is Venus is in a sextile to Jupiter in Gemini. So this feels very lucky. You could feel as though you're having some very passionate conversations with friends or siblings. You could feel as though you are getting these beautiful affirmations from people that are close to you or people that you've even just met. It could just feel very nourishing in this way. You could just feel like, okay, I'm being very inspired to follow my curiosity. You're feeling a little bit more lucky. So I love this energy. Neptune is still conjunct the North Node in Pisces in this chart. So I want you to be aware of this energy because we're really focusing on what is going to make us feel fulfilled right now. How can we lean into that energy and how can we prioritize this? So we're focusing on What does our destiny look like? What does our purpose look like? These can be some major themes right now that you hear of, that you're trying to look into. I do want to say something I want to point out in this new moon chart is Mercury is in this sextile to Uranus in Taurus. So you can get some really lovely surprises during this new moon. You can get an epiphany around your finances, your self-worth, your self-value. You can get a lovely small monetary gift in some form, or perhaps a free bakery item, or someone invites you over for food, or you try a new dish and it's super delicious. These are some examples. Yet I do think this is going to give us the epiphany we need to move forward. This is a beautiful, beautiful, emotional, brand new beginning for you. It's a very dreamy new beginning. I think we're going to dream bigger with this energy. I think we're going to really try to envision, okay, what do I actually want for the future? What does this look like? This is the time to really focus on your manifestation practice. Now let's get into March's astrology so that you can be better prepared. And I will say March is a bit intense. This is because we have the eclipses happening in March. We also have a Venus retrograde and a Mercury retrograde. Now, some astrologers are saying that it will be more intense than February. I personally don't agree with this. However, I do natally have Venus retrograde, so for me, I don't think a Venus retrograde is as intense as a Mars retrograde. It's something to be aware of contrasting opinions around March's astrology. I'm actually excited for March because I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I do think sometimes change is needed. Now, with both Mercury and Venus retrograde, it can feel like we're in this nostalgic trap. You could feel like you're being pulled to the past, and this is actually going to help you reassess your values in a huge way. I'm going to give you an overview of the major dates in March, and then we're going to chat more about this. So on March 2nd, Venus goes retrograde in the sign of Aries. Venus is in detriment in the sign of Aries, meaning that it is very uncomfortable in this sign. If you have this natally, please do not worry. This is still a great, beautiful placement. There is a benefit to Venus in Aries, which is that passion, that drive, being very affectionate, being very affirming. Yet Venus going retrograde is uncomfortable. It could feel like someone's removing love from you. It could feel like someone is taking a step back from the love that they're showing you. I'll get deeper into that. So on March 3rd, we have Mercury entering Aries. Then on March 14th, we have a lunar eclipse in Virgo. This is our first eclipse in the sign of Virgo. This is pivotal. It's really important to consider what is happening for you during this time, because this is a major, major closing of a chapter in your life. Eclipses are supercharged new moons and full moons. So this lunar eclipse in Virgo is really this time when you're letting go of something, especially around perfectionism and your routine, that you really need to say goodbye to. Then Mercury retrograde begins in the sign of Aries on March 15th. Then on March 20th, we have the astrological new year beginning, which is super exciting. This is because Aries season begins on March 20th. This can feel like a breath of fresh air. This is going to be a really important start to the new year. So if you felt as though the new year didn't really fully begin for you, take note of this, because honestly, this is when we start to see major changes happen and take place, is when the astrological new year begins. On March 27th, we still have Venus retrograde, yet it retrogrades back into the sign of Pisces. This is important to be aware of. I am releasing your Venus retrograde horoscopes very soon for my VIP membership, so stay tuned for those. Those are super juicy. Then on March 29th, we have a solar eclipse in Aries. This is our last eclipse in the sign of Aries. We've had these series of eclipses in the signs of Aries and Libra for the last 2 years, yet this is going to be a pivotal new beginning for you in one area of your life. So I'm excited to see what happens for you during this time. I'll be diving deeper closer to the date around this. Then on March 30th, Mercury retrogrades back into the sign of Pisces, and Mercury in Pisces is in detriment as well. So this again just means that Mercury is uncomfortable in the sign of Pisces. Communication is already quite confusing during a Mercury retrograde, yet with Mercury retrograde in the sign of Pisces, you could feel as though more miscommunication happens during this time. You could feel as though it's a bit harder to really get your point across or to really think clearly about a path forward. However, I do think this is going to be very, very nostalgic, very empathetic. I do think we're going to have some very emotional conversations around our past with Mercury retrograde in the sign of Pisces. Stay tuned for my deeper dive into that. And then we end off the month with Neptune entering Aries on March 30th. This is huge. Okay, this is really, really big. This is honestly really important to be aware of because no one in our lifetime has experienced Neptune in Aries. And I will say this can feel very, very different. Our society in general is really going to go through this mass transformation. With Neptune, this looks like really shifting our spiritual collective consciousness in the sign of Aries. I think we're going to see this mass upheaval of what we need to focus on, how we can better ourselves, how the self-development work we're doing for ourselves is actually going to help our spiritual collective consciousness. So this is huge. March, I will say it's a lot. I want you to be prepared. It's going to be a lot. And this is exciting. I do think we're still going to have some lovely, lovely changes. I think we're going to be super nostalgic. I think this is still a great time to reconnect with old friends. I think this is still a great time to really understand, okay, what's truly important for you. Venus retrogrades only happen every 18 months to 2 years, and they can feel more uncomfortable than Mercury retrogrades. I will say we could see more breakups during this time. I don't want to scare you with this information. This is just something to be aware of because someone could act in a way that feels very different. They could feel as though maybe they aren't really showing you that they love you in the same way. Please have a conversation around this, okay? Try not to make rash decisions during a Venus retrograde. However, if you want to use this energy to your advantage, Venus retrogrades are a great time to reach out to an old friend, to reach out and forgive someone. I do think a lot of exes are going to come back during a Venus and Mercury retrograde. For both of these to occur at the same time in the same signs, this is big. This is big, okay? This is major. I want you to be prepared because it is going to be a time when we're really, really deeply reflecting on who are we? Are you still aligned with your values? Have your values changed at all? You could be rethinking a lot of money matters. You could be rethinking a lot in terms of how you show up in relationships. With a Mercury retrograde in Aries and Pisces, we are really rethinking how we are showing up authentically in different spaces, how you are following your desires, how you are going after your dreams, how you are putting yourself out there and being brave and bold and different. This is huge. Even though this can feel a bit emotionally heavy, I will say I do think this month is very pivotal for you. This could potentially change your life with these eclipses, and eclipse season really pushes things out of our life that are no longer aligned. Eclipses show us what is actually our path forward, what is part of our destiny, and what is no longer aligned for you will be made very, very clear. Again, this is not to scare you. This is exciting. I am taking this as, okay, something has to change. And I personally love change. I have a lot of Uranus energy in my chart, so I do get very excited when there's this new opportunity for us to witness what needs to change in our life. Yeah, I know not everyone might think that. So please be aware of this. And those are the major things happening for us in March, and also your summary of this new moon in Pisces. If you'd like to dive deeper into your birth chart, I just have a few spots left for birth chart readings. I'll leave a link to that down below if you want me to pull up your chart, if you want to dive deep as to how all of this is affecting you specifically. May this be through your relationships, may this be through your career, how to best be prepared for this. We can talk this through. So I'm happy to do that for you. And I'm also hosting Eclipse Revelations event with the Moon Sign Creative Community in March. So this is for you if you want to really get prepared for these eclipses and time travel to see which themes from the past that happened for you are going to reoccur during these eclipses. These are some of my favorite rituals. This is not the time to manifest, I will say. I know I get a lot of flack for that, yet eclipses are very chaotic. It's not really the best time to manifest. People can still do it, but I will say it can feel a bit more overwhelming to do so during this time. So I really hope this gives you a good overview of the energy for the month so you can be prepared. Now let's get into the topic for this week, which are solar return readings. Now, I will say a lot of astrologers don't utilize this as much as I thought that they would, because honestly, this gives you a good overview of your year ahead. Solar return readings often get confused for your Saturn return. These are very, very different. I first want to state this difference is Saturn returns only happen every 28 to 31 years. Saturn returns are a major pivotal time for you to adult up, learn hard lessons, but also reparent yourself. Whereas solar returns are your birthday, and you have a specific new chart every year of your life. This gives you a really good overview of the major themes for your year ahead. This gives you a good foresight as to what to focus on and how to really utilize this energy to your advantage. I had a previous client reach out to me and she mentioned, oh my goodness, so much came true as to what you predicted during my solar return reading. And this was really lovely to hear. It actually really helped her focus on her career even more because she was kind of curious about dating during this time. However, looking at her solar return chart, I could see that this was a pivotal time for her in being seen in her career and the legacy she was leaving behind. So for her, she started to prioritize more work opportunities and she started to prioritize putting herself out there in terms of a manager position in terms of work. This greatly, greatly benefited her career. She started to earn more money because of this. And this is just because once you're mentally prepared for what's to come in your year ahead, you can stop hyper focusing on things that might not be the main focus for you that year. I think with Jupiter in Gemini, we can already feel so overwhelmed by so many options and so many things to think about that by having a solar return reading, you can really understand, okay, actually, I'm going to focus on this. Actually, these are the major themes for me, and this is what I need to really prioritize in my life. Now, if you want to look up your solar return chart, I will say I really love time passages. You do have to pay for that, so I want to give you a heads up on that. You can also use astroseek.com. That can also give you a solar return chart. That is still one of my websites to go to as well. And what's important to look at in a solar return chart is not only which house the sun is in, because the sun will still be in the same sign as it was at the time of your birth because it is your birthday. Yet look at which house the sun is in for you and what are the major themes of those houses. Also look at the aspects to the sun because that's going to give you a good overview as to, okay, how will I emotionally feel during this time? What am I aware of? What are my challenges? What are the major strengths of this year? Look at the moon sign for how you're going to emotionally feel during this year. That might change for you. You might be a different moon sign in terms of the year ahead. That doesn't mean that your moon sign actually changes signs. That just means you're going to have some elements of that sign. So, for example, if you are a Capricorn moon, but one year you're a Cancer moon, you might feel more emotional that year ahead and more sentimental and more nostalgic. And that can feel a bit overwhelming if you're not aware of why that's happening. So, this is the time to prioritize this. Go look up your chart. If you'd like to dive deeper into this with me, then I do have a few spots left for that. I have one spot left for February, yet I am super, super excited for you to explore your solar return chart because honestly, me looking at my solar return charts have really, really helped me in my career because there's so many solar return charts where dating looked terrible for me. Okay, dating was not an option, and that's okay. I know that can be frustrating sometimes. I know for myself it was disappointing, yet I'm actually so happy I looked at my solar return chart because it helped me prioritize my career and what I needed to do in my career to take the next step, to get to that next level. Whereas then I just deprioritized dating, which honestly was something I'm grateful for now because I know I will meet my partner soon. These solar return charts for the next few years for me are looking a lot better, so stay tuned for that to see what happens in terms of my dating life. Yet, it did give me this reassurance that dating is so possible for me and I will find my aligned partner. It just might not be all at once in terms of my career and my relationships, and that's okay, right? Sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming to expect everything all at once. Yet, just remind yourself you can have everything, but sometimes having it all at once can feel scary. We could have a fear of success when this happens for us. We could have a fear of rejection or a fear of what if it all goes away. This is something to really work through. This is something I'm working through with a lot of my Boldest You mentees with because this helps us understand, okay, what are your main fears and why can't you have it all? So I really hope this reflection helped you in any way. I hope it gave you some new ideas as to looking at your solar return chart to see how you can plan your year ahead based on this. And let's dive into your tarot reading for this month. Okay, so the first card out is the Six of Swords. So this month, we need to say goodbye to something. I see this with the lunar eclipse in Virgo. I think we're going to say goodbye to honestly overthinking situations, but also what are you afraid of in terms of not feeling good enough to receive something? I'm really hearing that message because we have to kind of work through that pain and that hurt so that you can be open to receiving more. We are letting go of our anxiety around a situation. We're letting go of a difficult situation. So I see March's astrology as a month for you to kind of get focused on, okay, what's possible for me? How can I leave the past in the past? How can I forgive? That's going to be a major theme. Forgiving someone from your past, even though it's hard, that is honestly going to be really highlighted right now. I'm really hearing that channeled message. Now, the next card out is the Six of Pentacles. So, oof, okay. I will say, I do see this energy with a Venus retrograde. This is what I have natally in my chart. Not Venus retrograde in Aries, Venus retrograde in Virgo. Yet, this energy is, this is a month where you're reflecting on who is showing up for you in the same way you're showing up for them. Are you overgiving in a situation? Are you overworking and you're not receiving the rewards that you wish you were? Really good to keep in mind. I'm seeing this energy as, okay, how can you take a step back and stop feeling like you won't receive the love that you want unless you overgive, unless you show someone that you love them so, so much. This is a card that really helps us kind of rethink, okay, maybe this dynamic, this relationship dynamic is no longer working for me. Maybe you can take a step back and realize, okay, I need to change something in terms of my approach. So this Venus retrograde is going to show you who is actually putting in effort. I had to say goodbye to a few friends in the last year, and it's because I noticed that they weren't putting any effort in the friendships. They weren't really showing up. And it's interesting, once you start to take a step back and stop trying just to see if the other person catches on, if they're going to step forward and they don't, it is telling you what you need to do, and that is to prioritize other relationships and prioritize people who show up for you. I want you to really prioritize still showing yourself love and still showing love to the people who show up for you. That's going to be important. We all need compassion. We all need empathy. I do want to state that. And it's important to not lose our hearts when it comes to society and what's happening in the world. Yet, we can't wear our heart on our sleeves all the time. I know Pisces loves to do that. However, the more you're able to kind of reflect on, is this worth my energy? The more you're able to see, okay, maybe not. I can't do this anymore. I need to take a step back and prioritize myself. So I'm really, really hearing this message for this Venus retrograde. The next card out is Temperance reverse. So go within this month, and this will be a time to really reflect, journal, meditate, and see how can you show yourself that love right now? How can you feel loved right now? No matter which person it is, try to disconnect that it has to be from a specific person. I'm really hearing this message. Focus on how you're showing that love to yourself and do that regularly. Watch your favorite show or do your favorite meditation. Journal every day. Prioritize yourself. That's going to help you so, so, so much in terms of this. You need to realign and get into a balance that really, really uplifts you. I asked what our block this month is, and we got the Knight of Wands. So Okay, so the uncensored version of this is someone could potentially come back, an ex could potentially come back, or I will say someone is looking for something that is more physical in terms of a relationship and not as emotionally sensitive as you would like. You could potentially feel like people are being very flirty and passionate, but they're not being consistent and showing up for you. This is more so the dark side of this energy because this is our challenge for this month is to go so passionately, to be so motivated, yet then it burns out. The passion burns out. And this could look like, someone just wanting a physical connection, someone not following up with the words that they're saying. This is going to be very clear. I asked, how can we overcome this challenge? So we got the Nine of Wands reverse, and this is a card to let go of anxiety, to really stop overthinking a situation. Still guard yourself. This is more so an internal guard of feeling what's right for you. You don't have to overprotect yourself in this situation, yet being aware of someone's intentions is going to be very important. Being discerning with your energy is very important, but also giving someone a shot. I will say not to commit during a Venus retrograde and a Mercury retrograde. If someone comes back from your past and you want to give it another shot, that's okay, right? There's no shame in that. Yet, you do not have to make a decision right away. You can have those conversations. Try to take things slow. I'm hearing that message. Take things slow, right? You do not have to rush this process, but I'm hearing release any type of judgment on yourself and release feeling like you have to always guard yourself. Try not to be super, super protective of yourself. I know this can be hard. If you've been hurt in the past, I know I'm really calling myself out on this. Yet, this is a card to remind you that love is possible for you. Love is possible for you. And if you're in love, really relish in that. Soak that in and fall in love with yourself. Fall in love and romanticize your life, right? You are the person you've been looking for. You are. Remind yourself of that. The only person who could save you is yourself. And you showing up for yourself is going to be the most important thing to do right now. Your oracle cards are be gentle with yourself. Try not to be overly critical of yourself. Try not to be harsh on yourself. Give yourself that love and compassion. Hype yourself up. Show yourself kindness. Take care of your body. Do this for yourself. That's going to be so important to do right now. You also got Emerge. So if you've been holding yourself back, this is a card to remind you to step it up, to shine, and to really be in your power. Call back your power right now. That's going to be really, really important for you to do, especially with Aries season beginning this month in March. So take note of this. The last card out is I have support. So lean on your relationships right now. Lean on the people that you love. Lean on those friendships. Lean on your community. Do this for yourself. That's going to feel so nourishing for you. I love this message. I always love seeing this card. It's such a beautiful reminder. So thank you so much for listening, friend. I hope this gives you a good overview of the new moon in Pisces, yet also March's astrology. And I'm excited for you. Please keep me posted on what happens for you. Please comment down below. If you want to check out the Moon Sign Creative Community for our Eclipse Revelations events, I'll leave a link to that down below if you're curious, if you want that community support, and if you want to dive deeper into your chart. I'm inviting you to do so with me because I think that's going to be so transformative and life-changing for you. Thank you again for watching, friend. I'm sending you so much love. Take care.